One song, glory, one song before I go, glory, one song to leave behind. Find one song, one last refrain, glory from the pretty boy front man who wasted opportunity.
Johnathan Larson was the person who changed the course of musical theatre forever. He changed its sound, he changed its subject matter, he changed its soul. His life was lived as fully as possible. My name is Eilis, and today I'm going to take you on a journey to explore his life and his legacy.
Time dies glory. One blaze up glow.
Johnathan Larson was born on the 4th of February 1960 in New York. He was exposed to music and theatre from a young age. Amongst many others, he was heavily influenced by Billy Joel and Elton John, as well as legendary theatre composer Stephen Sondheim. He saw many shows like 1776, Fiddler on the Roof, and Hair, which he was particularly inspired by. He was very musical and he played in his school band. When it was time to go to college, he went to Adelphi University in New York, where he majored in acting. He was exceptionally talented and his family were looking forward to a long acting career. When his family found out that he wanted to focus more on writing music, they were really disappointed. He moved into a tiny apartment, a 5-floor walk-up. He had a bathtub in the kitchen, they had no heat, and they had to use an illegal wood burner stove. He worked as a waiter at the Moondance Diner to make ends meet. At this apartment, every Christmas he hosted what he called a peasant feast. Here, they shared food, music, and laughter in true bohemian fashion.
I found the sun on a midwinter day on a back street down in Soho.
He wrote as much music as he could. He wrote music for Sesame Street, as well as music for shows called Billy Bishop Goes to War and Mowgli, which never made it to the stage. He often sent his work to Stephen Sondheim, who would reply and give feedback on it. He won quite a few small grants that helped him keep writing music. One such composition was Suburbia, a musical that he worked 7 years on, but didn't get anywhere with. He wrote a rock monologue in response to its failure, which turned into a full show called Boho Days, and then Tick, Tick, Boom. This was when a man named Jeffrey Seller saw it and he wanted to produce his work.
I've used all materials that Henry Murger wrote to inspire me, but I've also used Puccini to inspire, but still the ultimate fun and ultimate challenge was to ask in our society today, who would Marcello be? What would he do? Who is Rodolfo?
Billy Ronson went to Johnathan, who adapted the book La Boheme to the modern streets of New York City. He started delving into big taboo issues of the time, such as homelessness, homophobia, and the AIDS epidemic. AIDS, standing for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, kills the blood cells that protect from disease, leaving the body vulnerable to fatal illness. Dozens of Jonathan's friends have been diagnosed with this condition, and many of them died from it.
My friends are coughing and screaming from fevers that rage like runaway wildfires. Yet the men with power send them nothing but autographed copies of their 8x10s. I don't want to help, but I don't know what to do.
His friend Matthew O'Grady brought him to a few support meetings for people affected by it, called Friends Indeed. John later adapted this into his La Boheme musical, which he called Rent. He contacted the New York Theatre Workshop in 1995 to see if they would produce his musical, and they had their first workshop. He won the Richard Rogers Grant for Composers and got a director and cast members on board. At the start, he found it incredibly difficult to collaborate, as he'd been working on his own for so long.
How do you document real life when real life's getting more like fiction each day.
He would often have disagreements with producers and then come back the next day with a smile and an armful of new material. Rehearsals properly started in 1995 and John was overjoyed to finally quit his job at the diner.
My last checkbook. Thank you, my last chocolate milkshake.
He held a peasant's feast again that Christmas and this year invited all the cast members working on Rent. He told them that he wrote a show about his friends so they would not be forgotten. On the last day of tech rehearsals for the show, John started having chest pains. He collapsed and was brought to the hospital where the doctor said that he'd be fine. He attended the dress rehearsal that evening and was overjoyed to be interviewed by the New York Times. He'd always dreamed of a good New York Times review of his musical.
I'm happy to say that other commissions are coming in and I think I have a life as a composer.
The energy was electric, but the show was still unfinished. The first preview was the following day, and it wasn't perfect, but it was there. At some time between the night of January 24th and the morning of the 25th, Johnathan Larson's aorta ruptured, presumably caused by undiagnosed Marfan syndrome. He passed away that morning alone in his apartment. He never got the chance to see a proper performance of his work. They began that show sitting on the tables on stage, simply singing through Johnathan's songs for his friends and family. But they couldn't stop themselves, and they were itching to do it properly. So by the end of Act 1, they were performing it to its fullest. The opening number of Act 2, Seasons of Love, was performed as a memorial for him. When the preview ended, there was a standing ovation. For minutes they sat in silence at the end until one voice called out, "Thank you, Johnathan Larson." Rent sold out, extended and sold out again at New York Theatre Workshop. They transferred to Broadway and became the hottest ticket in town in 1996. They sold $20 front row tickets by lottery, similar to what Hamilton does today, so less well-off people had a chance to see the show. They got an amazing New York Times review and won 2 Tonys. John's sister Julie collected the Tony Award for Best Book.
Thank you. You know, it took Johnny 15 years of really hard work to become an overnight sensation. So we'd like to share this award with all those who are out there still working in restaurants or driving taxis or doing whatever they have to scrape by for their art. Stay true to yourselves and to your dreams and know they can come true.
The show ran on Broadway for 12 years, but its legacy did not end when it left. An off-Broadway revival was done only 3 years after the Broadway production closed. There were numerous tours done. A movie based on Rent was released in 2005 and a live TV event was done in 2019. A Johnathan Larson grant was created to support up-and-coming composers just like him. Then came the Johnathan Larson Project. Theatre historian, Be More Chill producer and big Rent head Jennifer Ashley Tepper had come across hundreds of songs Johnathan had written in the archives of Washington, D.C. She then got together 5 talented performers, Lauren Marcus, Andy Mointis, George Salazar, Krista Rodriguez and Nick Blymeyer to sing 16 of these songs at a cabaret space called Feinstein's 54 Below in New York in 2018. His demos were then turned into full recordings by Ghostlight Records and his music gained new life. Johnathan Larson's story didn't end when he died. It's still being written today, which is a testament to his revolutionary work. Rent has positively impacted and inspired millions of people around the world. He told everyone that there was no day but today to do the things you love and to keep going. Thank you, Johnathan Larson.